The ocean covers about 71% of Earth's surface, making it the largest and most complex ecosystem on the planet. Yet, despite its vastness, scientists have only managed to explore around 5% of it, leaving much of its depths a mystery. Over the years, fishermen have pulled up some truly extraordinary creatures, offering rare glimpses into what lies beneath the waves. With that in mind, here are 15 of the strangest finds ever made while fishing. Number 15. Monster-sized wolfish. Maine fisherman Jacob Knoll uploads videos of his finds on his social media page. He recently caught a monster wolfish and posted a video on his TikTok and Instagram. At the beginning of the clip, the video shows the wolfish lying on the boat floor as it growls and thrashes around. Jacob can then be seen picking up the creature and holding it up to the camera before lowering the fish towards a dead lobster. The fish then opens its mouth and sinks its teeth into the lobster shell. Jacob then throws the fish with the lobster still shut in its jaws back into the ocean. According to Jacob, they only get them a few times as they're protected, but if they do, they let them go as soon as they catch them. After it garnered millions of views, the internet quickly called it ugly. We can see why. This is what a wolfish looks like up close. It has a row of long, sharp teeth that can often be seen protruding from its mouth and has a mighty bite force that can crush the hard shell of mussels and crustaceans almost instantly. Besides their unique appearance, scientists can distinguish wolfish by the natural antifreeze they produce to keep their blood moving fluidly in their very cold habitat. Unlike other fish who swim up and down in the water, they prefer to make their homes on the rocky ocean floor, giving them ample access to the prey that make up their diet. Number 14. Alien creature. Ramlin Sim was fishing in Singapore when he thought he had reeled in a bunch of seaweed. But when the creature, which seemed to have more than 100 arms, started to move like an alien, he took a video of it which later went viral on Facebook with almost 8 million views and nearly 130,000 likes. The sight was so bizarre that many viewers initially thought it was CGI or a prank, sparking heated debates online. Some compared the writhing arms to a scene out of a horror film, while others marveled at how little we truly know about the ocean's depths. Ramlin admitted that the way it moved sent shivers down his spine, describing the arms as alive noodles, twisting and reaching in every direction. Marine experts were quick to chime in, explaining that the creature's uncanny motion is how it traps small plankton and shrimp drifting by in the current. Divers who have encountered basket stars in the wild say their movements are mesmerizing but also unsettling, as if the ocean floor itself suddenly came alive. The video inspired a surge of interest in basket stars, with many people amazed to learn that such alien-like organisms are not only real but widespread in the oceans. After taking the video, he later released the creature. The alien-looking creature was identified as a basket star with a system of highly branched fleshy arms that resemble a basket. The basket star is a distant relative of sea stars, sea urchins, and starfish. Using their intricate network of dexterous arms, these animals form a basket to catch their prey. They coil their wriggly tendrils around their victims, which they then transport to the underside of the central disc where the mouth is. There are over 2,000 species of brittle stars that live today. Marine experts find more than 1,200 species in over 1,000 feet deep waters. One fun but a gross fact about the basket star is that its mouth is rimmed with 5 jaws and serves as both its mouth for food and exit for its waste. Number 13. 80-million-year-old shark. David Gua was fishing for dory and sea perch near Lake's entrance off the southeastern coast of Victoria when he caught a strange-looking creature from the water. According to David, the shark was about 4.9 feet long and was so bizarre-looking that he initially thought it was a new species. David, who's been fishing for 30 years, had never seen anything like it, so he offered it to a local museum. Marine experts identified the creature as a frilled shark, also known as a living fossil because they've hardly changed over millions of years. The head of the frilled shark is lizard-like, featuring a blunt-ended snout and an enormous mouth armed with multiple rows of sharp, 3-pronged teeth. While each tooth is relatively small, there are around 300 in total, providing almost 1,000 sharp hooks to trap struggling prey. Behind the head on both sides of the body are 6 gill slits, each with a distinctive frilly margin. One of the main reasons for their rare appearance is that they've entirely adapted to the deep water habitat at depths of about 1,000 meters, where there is hardly any competition from other sharks. Even though its species is not endangered, safeguards are still in place to protect the shark. In 2007, the European Union Fisheries Council established a 0 total allowable catch limitation for vulnerable sharks. The council added the frilled shark to this list in 2010. And they enforced the measure from 2012 onwards. Certain parts of Australia also prohibit trawling in areas below 2,300 feet. Number 12. Rough skin shark. Trapman Berm caught a very unusual shark from a depth of around 2,130 feet, 650 meters, off the coast of New South Wales in Australia. He then posted a photo of the creature on Facebook, which has since gone viral primarily because of how strange the shark looks. It has bulging blue-green eyes, a creepy grin with a human-like set of teeth, and rough sandpaper-like skin. The shark's unusual features generated many comments among Facebook users who were either amazed or terrified by the creature. One commenter wrote that the specimen was the stuff of nightmares, while another wrote that the creature's evil smile gave them major creeps. Other people joked about the animal's appearance, speculating that the shark was wearing false teeth. However, people have yet to learn the specific species of this shark. Some people who have viewed the Facebook post speculate it is a cookie-cutter shark. However, Trapman disagreed with the online commenters and clarified it to be a rough-skin shark, also known as a species of endeavor dogfish, a group of deep-sea sharks found worldwide. Some shark experts had other ideas about the species. One expert identified it to be a deep-water kite-fin shark. Dean Grubbs, a Florida State University marine biologist and shark expert, offered a different conclusion. Grubbs had the same suspicion as Trapman that it was a rough-skinned dogfish. For all we know, the shark could also belong to a never-before-seen species. Regardless, we can all agree that it is a strange catch that no one is supposed to see. If you have any ideas on what the species could be, let us know in the comments below. Now it's time for today's topic. On a stormy night off the coast of Western Australia, the crew of the cargo vessel Papyratia reported something that has since baffled both sailors and scientists. Battling high swells in the Indian Ocean, the ship's radar briefly went dark, moments before an enormous shape rose from the depths. According to eyewitnesses, the sea erupted as a colossal shark-like creature breached the surface, towering nearly as high as the vessel's bow. Veteran sailors described the beast as far larger than any great white shark ever recorded, with jagged scars across its body suggesting ancient battles. The creature circled the ship slowly, its dorsal fins slicing through the waves like a moving island. One crew member managed to capture a blurry photograph before the storm swallowed the scene in sheets of rain. Marine experts reviewing the account noted chilling similarities to descriptions of Carcharocal's Megalodon, a prehistoric shark thought to have gone extinct over 3 million years ago. Though skeptics dismissed the sighting as an exaggeration born from rough seas and fear, locals along Australia's coastline have long whispered of the shadow in the deep. Whether it was a megalodon survivor or an undiscovered species, one fact remains: something massive still moves beneath those waters. Number 11. Body part. It was more than an average day for Jerry Masterson, who was fishing as part of a group on an offshore charter near Tampa. Jerry and his group of veteran angler friends were convinced they would have one of those days when the fish don't bite, but then Jerry felt a big tug on his line. He caught a whopping 80-pound yellowfin tuna and at first was in disbelief at his stunning catch. Jerry decided to fillet the fish on board the boat, and things started to go wrong. The group, still buzzing with excitement, gathered around to watch the fillet, joking and snapping photos, until the mood shifted drastically. The odor hit them first, a foul stench that silenced the laughter in seconds. As Jerry carefully cut deeper, his hands shook at what was revealed inside, and his friends leaned back in stunned horror. The silence on the deck was broken only by the waves and their nervous whispers, some insisting it had to be a mistake. A veteran angler muttered that he had never, in decades of fishing, seen anything remotely like this. Shock turned into unease as the reality sank in. They might be dealing with something far beyond a freak accident. Jerry had just cut behind the fish's head and threw its belly down along its spine when he realized there was a terrible smell of decomposing meat coming from the fish's stomach. On closer inspection, he discovered that the tuna's stomach contained a man's private parts. Jerry, who had been operating fishing charters for 20 years and had seen some strange things, was shocked at the gruesome discovery. He and his friends returned to shore and immediately notified authorities, who have begun their investigation as this might be the body part of a potential crime victim. Although the incident hadn't put Jerry off fishing, he would be nervous the next time he filleted a fish. "We understand, Jerry, we would be too." Number 10. Two-headed porpoise. The first ever case of a two-headed harbor porpoise documented by scientists was when Dutch fishermen in the North Sea off the coast of the Netherlands accidentally caught the odd creature as bycatch in their net. Worried that keeping the deceased marine mammal would be illegal, they threw it back into the ocean, but not before taking photos of their bizarre find and alerting researchers. While scientists have done case studies of conjoined twins in humans, reptiles, and domestic animals, they rarely see them in wild mammals. That's because newborn dolphins and porpoises, which are mammals, need to start swimming on their own immediately or they drown. In fact, before this find, only 9 other instances of two-headed cetaceans of any kind had ever been adequately documented. Though researchers could not physically examine the porpoise, they could tell from the photos that it was both a newborn and a male. The dorsal fins were not yet upright, the top of its head still contained hairs, and it had an umbilical opening, suggesting that the porpoise died shortly after birth. Because the fishermen threw the creature back into the ocean, they could not obtain other insights from the rare case. Number 9. Cocaine. Imagine going fishing and hoping for a big mahi-mahi or a tuna when your line snags on a lump of ocean trash. You reel it in, planning to dispose of it once you get back to shore, when you realize the ocean trash is dozens of blocks of cocaine, which was what happened to two recreational deep-sea fishermen from Charleston, South Carolina. They had seen a school of mahi-mahi jumping in the water near a pile of debris, and every time they passed it, they kept catching a fish. 3 hours in, they decided to see what the debris was, and that's when they made the shocking discovery. At first, they thought the barnacle-covered packages were bundles of old fishing gear, but the tightly wrapped plastic and sheer weight of each block told another story. The men quickly realized the danger of their situation, being alone miles offshore with a fortune's worth of narcotics in their boat. They debated tossing it back into the sea but worried about the consequences if law enforcement found it later. Instead, they secured the packages in a cooler and tried to stay calm, even as every passing boat made them nervous. By the time they neared radio range, adrenaline was running high, and their hands shook as they called the Coast Guard to report what they had found. Within an hour, a Coast Guard cutter intercepted them, officers boarding with weapons ready, carefully inspecting the suspicious cargo. The discovery left the fishermen shaken, but their cooperation earned them praise for doing the right thing in a dangerous situation. Stories like this highlight how often smugglers abandon shipments at sea, trusting currents to carry them to waiting accomplices, though not all packages make it to their intended destination. When they returned to radio range, they immediately contacted the Coast Guard, who boarded the vessel and took possession of the illegal drugs. When drug enforcement arrived, they took possession of the narcotics and started their investigation. The cocaine was estimated to be around 30 to 50 kilograms and carries a street value of $750,000 to $1 million. That certainly makes for one exciting story. Number 8. Live Grenade. Rob Trowler and Gaz Thomas are two men who regularly go fishing near Tarleton, Lancashire. A couple of times a week, they usually find weird items like a sword, cannonballs, motorbikes, and a bag of coins. However, they needed to prepare for what they pulled out of this fishing trip, a World War I live grenade. The men initially thought it was just another rusted piece of scrap, but as the mud washed away, the unmistakable shape of the grenade came into view, sending chills down their spines. Both froze for a moment, realizing that one wrong move could turn their hobby into disaster. Curious onlookers gathered at a distance as the pair carefully set the object down, warning others to stay clear. When police arrived, they immediately cordoned off the area, treating the grenade as if it could detonate at any moment. Locals later recounted hearing the distant thud of the controlled explosion, a stark reminder of the lingering dangers hidden beneath Britain's waterways. The pair's unusual find made headlines, turning their weekend pastime into a story shared across national news outlets. For Rob and Gaz, it was a shocking moment that reinforced how unpredictable magnet fishing can truly be. The pair alerted police, and thankfully, police escorted them out of the area before authorities moved the grenade to a nearby field where Army bomb disposal officers carried out a controlled explosion. Mills Munitions allegedly manufactured the grenade. According to Canals and Rivers Trust, which holds the guardianship of 2,000 miles of canals and rivers in England and Wales, it had seen a spike in reports of magnet fishing but warned it was dangerous to pull objects out of the water. Another man in Michigan, Joseph Alexander, also caught a live grenade while fishing. The object was stuck in the mud, but he pulled up the line to see what was attached. Authorities will store the grenade until they can detonate it properly. In these two cases, thankfully, no one was hurt. However, it's still best to exercise caution when magnet fishing. Though the fishing finds may be exciting, it may not go as smoothly as these two did. Number 7. The rarest goblin shark. Perhaps one of the rarest creatures we will feature in this video. Carl Moore was working about 10 miles off the coast of Key West, Florida, when he cast his net into the ocean. He discovered a terrifying finned creature, the goblin shark, around 18 feet long. At first, Carl didn't measure the shark because its head was slashing around, and according to Carl, it had some mean-looking teeth. The shark's long, flattened snout and protruding jaws gave it an almost alien appearance, sending chills through the crew as they watched it thrash. Moore described its teeth as looking like something out of a horror movie, rows of jagged spikes perfectly designed to snatch prey from the deep. The crew stood in awe, realizing they were staring at a living fossil, a species whose lineage dates back over 125 million years. For a moment, it felt like they had pulled a creature straight from Earth's prehistoric oceans into the present day. After taking pictures of the shark, he quickly released it into the water. When he returned to shore, Carl reported his finding to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. This species of deep-sea shark is so rare that it was last recorded by ocean researchers in 2000. The reason is probably due to the fact this shark is a deep-water bottom dweller that humans rarely see near the surface. Most find them on continental slopes between 270 to 960 meters deep, so they have almost no interaction with human fishing activity. Fishermen first discovered this shark in deep waters off Japan in 1898. The shark, which has a slow swimming speed, has a bite speed of up to 3.1 meters per second, the fastest recorded for a shark. It is likely an adaptation to its deep-sea environments where food is scarce, to compensate for its slow swimming speed. Number 6. Ancient coelacanth. A 420-million-year-old fossil fish that predated dinosaurs and experts thought to have gone extinct was found alive in the West Indian Ocean off the coast of Madagascar. A group of South African shark hunters accidentally rediscovered a fish named the coelacanth because of the ongoing increased demand for shark fins and oil. There was an increase in demand for gill nets, which can go deeper than regular fishing nets. The high-tech deep-sea nets could reach the area where coelacanth gather, usually about 328 to 492 feet below the surface of the water, making the rediscovery of these creatures possible. Many fishermen were stunned when they pulled the animal up, describing its shimmering blue scales and strange limb-like fins as something out of prehistory. Scientists rushed to verify the catch, knowing they were looking at a living fossil once believed to have vanished millions of years ago. For marine biologists, the discovery was nothing short of a scientific miracle, proving that vast regions of the deep ocean may still harbor ancient survivors of Earth's evolutionary past. The rediscovery also reignited global interest in conservation, as researchers stressed how fragile the coelacanth population remains in modern times. Believe it or not, coelacanth predate dinosaurs, but they resurfaced from extinction in 1938. Since then, this was the first instance that the fish was found alive. The recent rediscovery was a shock for scientists. The first coelacanth was caught in the Colossal River on the east coast of South Africa in 1938. The fish was caught in a shark gill net by Captain Gruesome and his crew, who had no idea their find's significance. They thought the fish was bizarre enough to alert the local museum in the small South African town of East London. The director of the East London Museum at the time was Marjorie Courtney Latimer. She alerted the prominent South African ichthyologist Dr. J.L.B. Smith to this fantastic discovery, and the coelacanth scientists eventually named it in honor of Courtney Latimer. Number 5. Megamouth shark. As their name implies, megamouths have a large mouth, small teeth, and a broad, rounded snout. Their luminous photophores surround their mouth and act as a lure for plankton or small fish. A relatively poor swimmer, the megamouth has a soft, flabby body. Their blubbery mouths are almost 1 meter wide and are lined with a brilliant silver band to attract plankton. Divers who have been lucky enough to witness a megamouth describe the encounter as surreal, with the shark's gaping mouth glowing like a lantern in the deep. Many locals in coastal fishing communities initially mistook the shark for a sea monster, given its ghostly appearance and unusual swimming style. The rarity of sightings only added fuel to the legend, as fewer than 120 confirmed encounters have ever been documented worldwide. In fact, entire expeditions have been mounted with the hope of tracking one down, yet most end in disappointment. Megamouths are so elusive that even tagging them has proven extremely difficult, with many slipping away into the abyss before scientists can attach monitoring devices. Those that have been tagged reveal a behavior called vertical migration, where the shark travels thousands of feet up and down the water column daily, following its plankton prey. This makes studying them even more challenging, as they spend much of their lives in depths unreachable to ordinary divers. For researchers, every glimpse feels like peering into a secret chapter of evolutionary history. Fishermen who accidentally capture them often express awe at the creature's sheer oddity, sometimes refusing to believe it is a shark at all. Scientists have suggested that the megamouth may represent a survival from an ancient lineage of filter-feeding sharks, bridging the gap between the whale shark and basking shark in evolutionary terms. The first megamouth was discovered in Hawaii in 1976, prompting scientists to create a new family and genus of sharks. The discovery was celebrated as the marine find of the 20th century, rivaling the discovery of the coelacanth in the 1930s. It was the 41st megamouth recorded in the world by the Florida Museum of Natural History, and was the 8th reported megamouth encountered in the Philippine seas. Number 4. Earthquake fish. In Chile, a group of fishermen caught a 16-foot-long monster fish identified as the oarfish. Oarfish can be found at depths of more than 3,000 feet in the ocean, but they sometimes get washed into shallower waters. Even then, it's usually rare to see them. The video was initially shared on TikTok and gathered nearly 10 million views, and it features the oarfish being hoisted up to its length by a crane. While some people were amazed at the size of the fish, the video raised concerns among people as they traditionally see this creature as a bad omen for tsunamis and earthquakes. The belief is that the tectonic plates move when they start to surface, signaling a potential earthquake. The fish became a folk legend, especially after the 2011 Fukushima earthquake. Many of these fish were seen in the waters around Japan and found dead on its beaches around the time the earthquake hit. However, if you ever encounter an oarfish and are worried about any potential earthquakes, you can rest assured, According to National Geographic, although oarfish were likely the source of many historic tales of sea serpents and sea monsters, they are hardly dangerous to people. Oarfish feed on tiny plankton and have a small opening to their digestive system. They don't even have real teeth, instead having flimsier structures called gill rakers to catch tiny organisms. Oarfish have occasionally been seen at the water surface, but scientists think they are pushed there by storms or strong currents, or they end up in distress or dying. A sputtering oarfish may look like a terrifying sea monster, but it is not considered dangerous to people or boats. Number 3. Sniper rifles. Magnetic fishing has become a hobby for some. You just throw your rope into the water and pull in whatever your magnet tracks. It's like fishing, except you might reel in something far more alarming than just a bass or two. While not a new hobby, its popularity rose during the pandemic when magnetic fishers started sharing their treasure hunts on social media. People were looking for a new hobby while still maintaining social distancing. Dwayne Smith took his 11-year-old grandson, Alan Cadwallader, on a magnet fishing trip in Homestead, Florida. It was their first time magnet fishing, so Dwayne chose a bridge with a canal near where he typically goes hiking. It's a hobby he recently became interested in, and he figured it would be a more engaging activity for his grandson, who has autism, than traditional fishing. Because it was their first fishing trip, Dwayne expected just to get a bottle cap or perhaps some coins. However, with magnet fishing, you just never know what to expect. Just 5 minutes in, the grandfather and grandson reeled in 2 sniper rifle receivers and bolt carrier groups wrapped in shrink wrap. Dwayne was a retired infantry soldier trained in deploying sniper weapons, so he knew the weapons were military grade. He estimates each piece weighed 20 pounds, and after doing some research, Smith estimates they're worth $20,000 and could have been there for up to a year because of their condition. The weapons were handed to Miami-Dade police and will be sent to the forensics lab to be processed, where they will determine if someone used the weapons in a crime. Number 2. Ratfish. It seems like the freakiest finds often come from the bottom of the ocean. They're always there, hiding in the dark. Every so often, like the goblin shark we just mentioned, one of these fish makes it to the surface. A Norwegian fisherman, Oscar Lundahl, was fishing for blue halibut when he caught a rather peculiar-looking creature off the island of Andøya in northern Norway. He had 4 hooks on his line with mackerel as bait and was fishing in water depths of 2,600 feet when he felt something quite heavy on the end of his line. It took him about 30 minutes to reel in his line because it was so deep. Much to his excitement, there were 2 halibut on 2 of the hooks, and he was pleased about that catch until he saw something else. At the end of the other hook was a ratfish, which lives in deep water and is distantly related to sharks. As Oscar hauled the creature aboard, its bulging eyes shimmered with a ghostly glow, reflecting the sunlight in a way that made it look otherworldly. The crew fell silent for a moment, each of them taken aback by the bizarre appearance of the animal, with its rabbit-like teeth and translucent fins. Some even whispered nervously, claiming it looked like a creature from a nightmare or a myth. Photographs of the strange fish quickly spread online, sparking heated debates about deep-sea monsters and the ocean's hidden mysteries. Marine biologists later explained that ratfish are rarely caught in such shallow waters, making Oscar's find even more unusual. Local fishermen admitted they had heard of such creatures before but never seen one with their own eyes. For Oscar, it was the catch of a lifetime, both thrilling and unsettling. Unfortunately, the ratfish did not survive out of the water due to a sudden change in pressure. Oscar then decided to have the ratfish for dinner and said that despite its ugly appearance, it was delicious. The ratfish, whose Latin name is Chimera monstrosa, Linnaeus, derives from a Greek mythical monster with the head of a lion and a dragon's tail. Despite their strange appearance, the ratfish are harmless to humans. Number 1. Giant sunfish. A fisherman found a giant fish entangled in the nets of a commercial tuna fishing boat near the Spanish city of Ceuta on the northern coast of Africa. Experts identified the 10.5-foot-long, 9.5-foot-wide creature as a southern sunfish. As news of the extraordinary find spread, locals gathered near the harbor, eager to catch a glimpse of the strange giant with its distinctive round body and stubby fins. Some of the older fishermen recalled tales of sunfish sightings passed down for generations, though none had ever seen one this massive in person. The sheer size of the fish made it appear almost otherworldly, its odd shape unlike any other creature pulled from the sea. For a moment, the docks were alive with speculation. Was this a record breaker, or perhaps even a new species yet to be catalogued? Marine biologist Enrique Ostale from the University of Seville's AREO Marine Biology Station responded to the incident with a team of researchers that hoisted the sunfish out of the water using a crane to study and snap a couple of pictures of the giant before releasing it. The researchers not only wanted to study the specimen, but they also wanted to keep it alive and release it. The team first isolated the fish in an underwater chamber before lifting it aboard their boat using a crane. Then the researchers measured, photographed, and took DNA samples of the creature. Finally, they safely released it into the sea and filmed it swimming away. The massive sunfish was a record size for the region. Even though researchers could not get an accurate weight on the beast at first, they attempted to put the giant sunfish on a 1,000-pound scale, but it was too heavy. Based on its heaviness and compared with other catches, they estimated it to weigh around 2 tons. According to the Guinness Book of World Records, the biggest southern sunfish ever caught was 5,070 pounds. If fishing happens to be your hobby, tell us in the comments below, what's the strangest thing you've ever reeled in? And if you don't fish, let us know which of these unusual finds surprised you the most. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.